second leader tonight, who's launching his poetry pamphlet, Newton's Splinter. If you'd like to join me in welcoming Simon Perril.
I could cause serious electrical damage here, couldn't I? Well, it's amazing to see so many people here. I'm used to doing gigs where it's 3 men and a dog, and the dog read the week previously. So I'm going to read from Newton's Splinter, which has got two sequences, two 8-poem sequences in, so forgive me if I'm reading out numbers. Both sequences have got some kind of an epigraph that kind of situate them somehow, so I won't go overboard on introductions. Both sequences are from a larger manuscript in progress, so what I'll also do, because otherwise it's slightly shorter, I'll read the preface poem to what will be the final book, eventually. God knows how long away that will be. And there are some strange images behind you that are kind of collages. I like to fillet books in my spare time and re-stick them together. And so you're looking at a sequence of collages that will become some kind of poetic sequence without words at some stage. And you've got lots of bird heads in there. I don't know if people know about the origins of the discovery of the caves of Lascaux, where you suddenly had 3 boys and a dog. Dog falls down a hole, and kids go after dog and end up in a cave that's full of the earliest examples of art from human beings. And the first image that a human being ever made of themselves involved a human being having a bird's head. So it's one of the things going on here. So I won't say much more. I'm just going to read the opening sequence, preface poem, and then the actual publication. Yeah. A soft rumination. The book's called A Soft Book, the big manuscript. A soft rumination. This soft matter of its acquisition and exercise, how it wraps round the hardness of facts, warms them to an ooze and muddle. Of that huddle of starlings on the telephone wire stave, of the spiral architecture of a wave, of the savoury surface of the moon, the man in it, men upon it, and the plans for a rocket our thoughts might be, launched across dusty seas, rains, clouds of cold, bowls of crises, all these sculpted in green cheese. Of the positioning of certain small hours on their side, of the occasion this provides for light to set about the paraphernalia, of the elasticity of the ode, for that sound stuff they are made of, for the feathered nether ear of the cat, for that cradle under arm and knee sought for wool, for the ochre inking of animals on the thinking walls of Lascaux, 900 feet below occupied France, yellows, reds and blacks, for that these walls are lunar landscapes our ancestors landed upon, in lines, crosses, sticks and spots, and not in florets of green algae, white calcite crumbs, a keyhole gallery succumbs to 15,000 years after we break the seal, fall with 3 boys into a ravine licked into the limestone. For the bird-headed man who also falls from the cave walls into Ernst's Europe after the rain. For that fires were started with neither juniper twigs nor animal fat, but that London, Liverpool, Barrow and Bootle became flat stone cups ablaze under vengeance too. For that we passed through this, settled anew in garden cities, planted under the soft blues of peacetime lighting, the softest landing, most courageous of missions. Okay, so this is a sequence called Discountenance, and it's got an epigraph by the filmmaker Chris Marker, which runs like this. Waiting, immobility, snatches of sleep. Curiously, all of that makes me think of a past or future war. Night trains, air raids, fallout shelters, small fragments of war enshrined in everyday life. Discountenance, 1. Says pawn to dawn, break on, brag at bays we're snookered upon, pocketed on cue so change can't lose. Break on, a new blues, no bars, forward to a hemisphere beyond head, how it might sustain life if we can earth the alien planet, deep space scored for theremin, what else but music of our not touching. And this container, with its samples, held clumsily in outsized gloves, I take back to where? 2. Look out this front of face, past its 40th mission. What are the orders that find no incision to pass through? Constellations of travail still surround as you orbit a galaxy of gaseous stars, desire debris, in soft mouths, indigenous rocks, the food we thought was thought. 3. This mislaid morning, fallen through a hair-shaped hole, parenthetically snug, fits into what? No pocket I can line. Outside, the backlit birch fires a silver synapse. In the head of the garden, my kids cycle its circuitry. How mental, the urge to pen an ode on incredulity. 4. Rome amongst origami imperium, to assemble the laurel, recycle, flyleaf from tales of terror, umpteenth edition, our daily dread. 5. Only a soft book, placed under the tongue, dissolves large-mouthed product. Probes crawl the surface of the red planet. Mars has landed. The last war lasts. 6. On-screen minister blares, points face. It opens, aims, and in the small hours, ears fizz perpetual dial-up. Off-screen, back of mind, reaches a red button. So much depends upon its depression. Little nub, the rub is out. 7. Right-click, save as, eminently reasonable, qua reasonable eminence, grease. Emote to remote, control, there is no intelligence whatsoever. Briefs terra counter in unexpected truth scoop. Police are appalling for witnesses. 8. Kettle gulls to a boil. Morning hyperventilates. Sky honeyed and toast crumbed. I, an unworkable diagram. In crayon, incomplete lines, flecked with page. And this is the title sequence, Newton Splinter. It's got some kind of an explanation. In July 2011, the American Space Shuttle program flew its final mission. On board the Atlantis shuttle on its journey to the International Space Station was a 4-inch wood sample from Isaac Newton's apple tree. V2 rocket technology turned Britain to a lunar crater in the Blitz and took America to the surface of the moon after World War II. But what followed the war in Britain was no less heroic a step into the unknown. The founding of the welfare state was our own space mission. recolonising post-war Britain as a fair and just society may as well have been taking footsteps on the moon. Newton's Splinter. 1. A day in May sucked back through a crack in the cloud ceiling at Cape Canaveral. A 10-centimetre splinter is launched, shot into space to meet the theory it grew only to defy, falling up at the sky. An apple snatched back from Newton's skull. In some kind of conceptual rewind we find ourselves in. Freefall, sat outside the apartment of Kabakov's man who flew into space from a catapult of bed springs and braces. The hole in that ceiling, the peeling of a lid. 2. Stranded outside that room, we peer through slats. The future, a crime scene, awaiting forensic team. Blake's Newton calibrates, calculates, delivers figures intently at his iPad, whilst the garden he sat in imitates Ernst's Europe after the rain. A blue-tit orbits a whirligig, skips across its cat's cradle. I am unable to fathom how, after firestorms, soft rain fell in England, formed a calcite cradle, a stalactite settlement under the nose of a quintet of giants. A new space program, still under the stars, with no formula for rocket fuel, yet so much to leave behind. 3. And the final missions to mend, send antennae dish, shepherd batteries. Soon Atlantis will pass the pock-marked pocket of the moon, transporting dawn in the form of a robotic arm. A Newton Splinter will dance, disregard the actions of an archetypal apple. Like Kabakov's hero, spins in the weightless knot place of Malevich's black square. 4. The apple draws the earth. Earth, the apple. But here wood spins, weightless in space, to draw not lots, splinters of history working under the skin, revolving. These lines trace knots in the wood out into space, through giraffe tongue blue to astro black. My copy of Britain by mass observation with the damaged spine. 5. Newton unseated, mounted in Malevichian black, revolves. Citrus globes a juggle in stellar struggle. Sky beyond sky. Dark as a train compartment, circa 46. Light bulbs snatched as a government patches harms, hatches plans, space deep. More alien than a banana's curve, lining the passage from cradle to grave. Sugared streets a-sparkle under celestial deep freeze. Frosted craters curate the pull to our neighbouring planet. Ghostly grey pocket we orbit nightly, hide in its soft shelter. 6. What birdfolk nest amongst the rubble? Wings misplaced, trace a theory of flight in blitzcrumbs, camera cover black, Comrade Leoniv's space gift, leader black, addendum 2, giraffe tongue blue. 7. Crows atop pylons, pepper tractor tracks as day bastes. Plot a future field for steel trees to punctuate. A sentence traced in pencil, fashioned from Newton's Splinter in softest lead. 8. New towns mounted in tarmacadam black. How soft motorcraft orbit chalky moons in the fresh gravity of Europe after rain. Fire, cave cradles moulded in giant slaying plastic. Missions space brave, Albion a coral garden, lunar reefs. Under the negative of snowflakes, cloud ceiling to paint upon as the hall of bulls last in ochre ellipses. An empty square marks the new moon too soon, parks its absence in a soft shape yet to come. Thank you.